Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Permit me introduce myself. My name is Putri Fakhriyah with the student number 22 2010 50 13. So, in this video guys, I would like to share you my personal video reflection based on the material that I get. It is in chapter 9. The title is Complex Cognitive Processes. So, I would like you to watch this video until the end to make your understanding better. So the first one I would like to explain in this chapter, it explains that complex cognitive processes are the higher order mental activities we use to learn deeply and apply our knowledge creatively and effectively. This can include some of the key points. The first one is metacognition. Metacognition is being aware and managing one's own thinking and learning. And then there is learning strategies. Remember, learning strategies is really important. Learning strategies is deliberate techniques students use to enhance to understanding and memory, problem solving, identifying and resolving unfamiliar or complex challenges, critical thinking and argumentation. It can include analyzing some ideas, evaluating arguments, and forming evidence-based judgment. Creativity. Creativity is really important in the student's life. Creativity, generating novel and appropriate solution or ideas. Transfer, applying knowledge or skill learned in one context to another situation. So we transfer our knowledge into another context that we can use it in real life situation maybe. So as Wolford emphasized, these skills are really essential for lifelong learning and academic success, especially in today's dynamic information rich world. So my personal connection related to this chapter is I have experienced many of these concepts as an English student. For example, I used to study for exam by rereading and I like to highlighting notes or taking notes. But guys, it didn't help much. Later, I learned to use self-questioning techniques. What is self-questioning techniques? I asked myself, what is the main idea here, or how could I explain this to someone else? How I transfer my knowledge to someone else, especially to my students, right? That is called metacognition in action. It helped me understand the material, not just remember it. And I have another real life example of transfer that happened during my internship. So I had learned about Bloom taxonomy in class in semester 3, if I didn't forget guys. But it, I didn't think of it much later. And some days ago, when I helped plan a lesson for elementary students in my KKN program, I teach elementary school students, I realized I was using Bloom's levels, asking my students to remember, analyze, and create. I applied that theoretical knowledge in a practical setting. That moment helped me appreciate how deep learning leads to real-world impact. Also, when working on my group project, I often use visual organizer like mind maps to explain complicated ideas, PowerPoints in Canva, or another. Some of my teammates prefer bullet points or summarize. That experience showed me how learning strategies need to be adapted for different learners. As the example I already said, me and my friend have different way to express or the way we teach, right? So how knowing your own learning process can improve your group work too. So the critical reflection in this chapter is one thing that really stood out to me was how much school often neglect to explicitly teach the metacognition. Workfolk points out that many students aren't aware of how they learn best. I've seen this in my classmates who give up quickly or don't know how to change their study habits. If teachers help students reflect on their own thinking like through journals, checklists, or group peer explanation, I believe the students would become more independent and motivated when they study. I also had misconception about creativity. I used to think it was just for artists or designers, but As the workshop explained, that creativity is also about problem solving and flexible thinking, which can apply to science, math, and the most important part is teaching. For example, one time I have helped my younger cousin with with his homework by inventing a game out of his made problem. That was a creative approach and it really worked. As an English future teacher, I want to apply this by encouraging critical thinking through open-ended questions and allowing my students to explain why they think something is true. I also promote argumentation not as a conflict but as a way they build reasoning skill and respect different viewpoints so they can respect their friends' argumentation too. So the biggest lesson I learned in this learning is thing is just as important as learning content. Teaching students how to plan, monitor, and evaluate their thinking, what Wolfo calls metacognitive regulation, can make them lifelong learners. One powerful idea I will take with me is to teach for transfer, not just conveying material, but how I can helping my students see how what they can learn by use different settings. That is the kind of learning that sticks. Whether it's through reflective activities, real-world problems, or creative projects, I want to help my future students develop this complex thinking skill that will prepare them not just for the test, but for real-life situation and for their life. So guys, thank you so much for watching my reflection. I hope this gave you a clear picture how complex cognitive processes shape the learning and how we can use this insight to become better students and better educators and better teacher. I guess that's all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.